The opposition has handed down its budget reply, accusing Labor of fuelling inflation and failing to address the ongoing housing crisis. Joining me live is Shadow Veteran Affairs Minister Barnaby Joyce. Good that you could be with us this morning, Mr Joyce. Thanks so much. You've sat through quite a few of these. What did you think of Peter Dutton's budget reply speech last night?
Yeah, I think it was solid. I think it wasn't. It gave people a few big ideas. Obviously, Australia has got to catch up to the rest of the world and understand that the nuclear industry of 2023 is not the industry of it was in the 1980s. We have to catch up. If we want high-paying manufacturing jobs and zero emissions and reliable power, then we've got to go with small modular reactors. And to say Mr Bowen prancing around, he's almost like something off Monty Python, telling us that he's fixed the power problem when everybody's getting a completely different message in their power bills. And, you know, we're shutting down Liddell. There's nothing to replace it. They're now beside themselves because Araring's going to shut down. Snowy Hydro 2.0 is just bogged down, seems to be indefinitely. Our power position in Australia, our power prices and our power reliability is going through the floor. It's creating massive problems in costs of living and massive problems in the reliability of having a manufacturing industry. And so we've got to, you know, grab this opportunity when the industry's starting, and the small modular reactor industry is starting, to be part of the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that will be earned from making these things. We dig the uranium up, we semi-process it, we take it through town, but we believe it's immoral to use ourselves. However, as it passes over salt water, it gains morality as it goes to another country. And now we're even talking about bringing the rubbish back and burying it back in Australia, but we don't use it ourselves. And this is idiotic. I mean, Mr Bowen says, oh, it's unaffordable. Well, that's not what Westinghouse thinks and Rolls-Royce thinks and Skoda thinks and General Electric thinks and you know, all these really stupid companies all around the world falling over themselves to be part of this industry. All these stupid countries like China, the United States, Canada, Scandinavia, Britain, France. All of them are all so dopey, and we're the only smart ones. And what Peter said last night is, look, let's have a reality check. Let's actually be part of this. We might be able to solve two problems. One is something to bolster up our power position, which is catastrophic where we're heading to. And the second thing, maybe get ourselves some money from making these things.
Peter Dutton says in his reply speech last night, in the 21st century, any sensible government must consider small modular nuclear reactors, saying they're low cost, safe, reliable, and can plug into the existing network. If they are all those things, why didn't the former coalition government install them?
Well, we've been pushing for this for quite some time in the Nationals, and I've been a big advocate, as has David Littleproud, as has David Gillespie and Matt Canavan, Keith Pitt. It's not as if there hasn't been a mechanism to try and drive this agenda, but we had coal-fired power stations still running. Now we don't. I drove down the other day, went past Liddell, which supplied power for 1.3 million people, and it's shut down. They're literally dismantling it. So now they want to shut down Araring. We're in completely different circumstances because Hazelwood's shut down, Liddell's shut down, and we're making ourselves more and more and more vulnerable. And it's not just us who says that. You even read it on the front page of the Labor Party at a state level. Of all of a sudden, they've had an epiphany. Now, Archangel Gabriel's told them that if there's no power being produced, you won't have power to use, and the power that is there will cost the world, and that's happening right now.
He focused on migration as well, saying a migration surge is coming at a time when there's a housing crisis, saying there's not enough houses being built. Well, Labor is trying to build houses in the Housing Australia Future Fund, but it's been blocked by the coalition.
Well, what we're actually doing with this fund is we're actually borrowing the money. We're borrowing the money and hoping for a return off the money that we've borrowed. They'll be able to build the houses. Now, that's sort of, I don't know the logic behind that, but anyway, there it is. If they want to actually build houses, here's some other things that they should be doing. Stop locking up your state forests so we can't get access to timber, because that's happening at a state level everywhere. Stop coming up with environmental laws and guidelines that make it nearly impossible to open up subdivisions in new areas where the cost of the environmental offsets is sometimes more expensive than actually building the subdivision for the house. Make sure that you allow people to move into regional areas where, of course, you've got a greater capacity to bring in housing at a more affordable rate. But you're not going to have people moving to regional areas if you never build a dam and stop building the railway lines and take money away for building the roads. Because if you do that, the 7,000 people a week who are turning up, I'll repeat that, 7,000 people a week, not only the people, but the hospitals they require, the police they require, the services they require. Well, I'll tell you where they're going to live, listeners. They're going to live in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. And big Australia is coming to 3 big cities in Australia, and it's just not going to work. We're 400,000 people, I think, in the next year. That's more than the population of Canberra. I mean, where are you going to put all these people?
The coalition will also establish an importer container levy, so Australian farmers will not be punished for the biosecurity risk others pose by importing their products. Just explain to us, wouldn't that add to inflation as well? Because wouldn't it just be passed on to consumers?
Well, it seems counterintuitive that I have to pay as a farmer, I'm an accountant and a farmer, but I have to pay for somebody who's competing against me bringing product into Australia. I don't understand that one. I don't pay the I don't pay the arrivals tax on other people coming to Australia. Why do I have to pay the tax on them bringing product into Australia? Those biosecurity should be met by them. And when they say farmers get a great deal because they're only covering about 7 or 8% of the cost, no, they pay tax. You see, they pay tax. That's like saying you get a great deal because you go to a public hospital. We pay tax, we make money. The only reason they've got a surplus in this year is because they've been slapped on the arse with an economic rainbow with massive coal prices, massive volumes, massive gas prices, great iron ore prices, great agricultural prices, and mums and dads who pay their taxes. And that's where the surplus came from, not from Clever Jim or Clever Chris or Clever Albo. It came from hardworking mums and dads and the fortuitous position economically that our nation found itself in, but they're in regional Australia. So we are doing our bit. As regional Australia is the reason you have a surplus. And to come back and say, you're doing us a good job if you give us a new tax. Not only that tax, a road user tax, a fuel excise tax, they just hit us with a bundle of new taxes, took away our infrastructure to actually grow our areas, and then told us how lucky we were. A hell of a bedtime story that one was.
And just finally, we're running out of time, Mr. Joyce, but the coalition going to increase the income-free threshold for those on job seekers so they can earn more without their payments being affected. Look, there's a lot of businesses crying out for workers at the moment, so what's your view on this?
I think it's so annoying that we've got, I think, 40,000 Australians who haven't had a job in the last 10 years, not one. Now, it's not as if there are not jobs out there. There are lots of jobs out there. And we've got to get it into people's head that if there's a job available, you've got to take it. And any encouragement we can get them to do that is a good thing. Because the more they have a job, the less you have to go to work to pay taxes, to pay for unemployment benefits for them. So get people into work is a really good idea and saves us money over the longer term, as you could see in the current budget. Low unemployment, get yourself a surplus because there's less money going out in social security. And it's happening in a cash economy out there in many areas in any case. So, people will do jobs for cash, but they won't go onto the books. That's not how it's supposed to work. Let's legitimise it and let's make it so that we basically break people into having a job and ultimately paying their tax and supporting our nation, because nobody wins if they're unemployed. They don't win, we don't win.
Barnaby Joyce, thanks for coming on this morning.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.